Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time I'm playing in the Tier 8 British turreted tank destroyer and one of my favourite vehicles in the game. It is the Charioteer. Now, Tankfest last weekend, there's one of these inside the Vehicle Conservation Centre, so it's always a pleasure to go and check out some of your favourite vehicles in real life and then be able to come back and play around with them a little bit in the game. And the Charioteer, I think it's one of the hidden gems along the British turreted tank destroyer line, and I don't think a lot of people give it credit. I like this vehicle so much that I put 4 of my British girls inside it, you know, the personal rewards. Personal rewards is a bit weird that the female crew members are kind of rewards inside World of Tanks when you think about it. But now with the latest patch, it's not so much of a big deal to have all girls inside a tank, because of course now Sisterhood of Steel matches with Brothers in Arms, and so I guess a lot more people are probably going to be using them just as commanders, so that you can have the addition of the female crew voices, which is a plus. And I think Wargaming are currently working out some of the radio noise in them that might be coming in the next patch or so. But focusing on the Charioteer, it's got the hull of a Cromwell. Now you might be thinking, well, the Cromwell is a tier 6 tank, right? Yeah, sure, but imagine the mobility of a Cromwell with a tank destroyer, and this thing has what I would call a tier 9, maybe 9.5 gun. This is 105mm with 390 alpha damage, 268mm of penetration on its standard ammunition, very similar to what you would have on the Centurion Action 10, or should we say more appropriately back when the FV4 202 used to be at tier 10, or I guess the Centurion 7.1, which is a tier 9 medium tank. Now, to have all of that mobility, a fully traversable turret, and a fairly okay rate of fire, this tank just fires just under 6 rounds a minute, which is better than the Centurion 7.1. And then you have that at tier 8 when you do get to shoot these tier 6, tier 7 tanks all that more often. The Charioteer really comes into its own. Now, there's multiple ways to play the Charioteer. My favourite way, however, is to play the shoot and scoot style. I like to use the fact that I have got an exceptional crew in this vehicle now to buff up my view range, use coated optics on the tank, along with situational awareness, recon, Sisterhood of Steel, and of course I'm feeding my crew their much needed pudding and tea, because they are Brits after all, right? Now, pudding and tea? Gosh, more like tea and crumpets possibly? Anyway, let's not go there. But I maximize my view range, and so this is the crucial key to victory, at least in my opinion, for being successful in vehicles like the Charioteer and your other sneaky fast tanks, or shall we say tank destroyers as well. It's about getting your opponents as far away as possible, up to that 445 meters max spotting distance, where hopefully they're not going to be able to see you, because especially these low tier tanks, hardly any of them will have 450 plus meters view range that they will need to be able to counteract the camo rating on this vehicle, which again isn't all that bad when you fire because of the fairly low caliber gun. Many of the other tier 8 tank destroyers are starting to pack 152mm guns, like on the ISU 152, or the German vehicles all 128mm. But the 105mm, with its lower caliber nature, does lower your camo rating less when you fire, and that's one of the advantages again about the UDES, which I believe also uses 105mm. But back to what I was saying about using your view range and your camo rating to your advantage. One of the easiest ways to be successful in World of Tanks is to be able to shoot at tanks that can't see you. Now, a lot of people will do that by relying on their allies to spot for them, but remember, if you can't see the target, you're only going to be getting 50% of the experience, and I guess also 50% of the credits. I definitely know it is the case for experience, but I'm not sure so much for the credits and the damage that you deal. And that isn't a very efficient way to play if you are trying to maximize your experience to either train your crews, to unlock new modules, or alternatively if you're just trying to work your way up towards the next tank. And so by spotting, and also the fact that you have to rely on your allies, which sometimes you just simply can't do. Oh, nice shot there into the Hellcat, picking up our second kill of the game. Will we be able to get one into the T-150 as well? Oh, come on, sneaky around the corner. Ah! Unfortunately, the Charioteer, not quite the most accurate of vehicles at 0.35. I can think a lot of other tank destroyers with these low caliber guns, you'll be at 0.25, for example, on the UDES, which is the most accurate tank in the game, and kind of took a large amount of my attention away from the Charioteer. before you had the UDARs and you had vehicles like the S1 go into the game, I really feel that the Charioteer had this very unique role. But I guess now that you've got multiple tanks that kind of perform this, especially with the Scorpion going into the game, actually thinking about it, that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't featured this tank on the channel in a year and a half, is because I've stopped playing tanks like this and started playing either the UDARs, the Stridsvagn S1, or alternatively the Scorpion. But right now this situation is looking rather ugly. Even though we've picked up 3 kills, make that 4, we're just trying to battle it out here and stop our opponents from being able to push in towards the cap circle. And it looks like, who is that inside on our team? The T-28 prototype is going through heroic efforts. But this is key here. You see how I'm always looking to try and maximize the distance that I have from my opponents, because this is the sweet spot. You've got to use the ring on your mini-map to your advantage. And really with the Charioteer, I feel comfortable shooting anyone, should we say, in between where I just marked out on the mini-map. So I'm talking about, should we say, if I draw a little circle in here, I can't do that because I don't have XM, or maybe I missed the map. Oh, there we go. This circle, anywhere from there to then the 445 meters, I just feel so comfortable shooting my opponents at that distance because it's very likely that they're not going to spot me. And that really is the key to success in the Charioteer, and I guess how I managed to nail 3 marks of excellence in this tank, and how, even though I don't play it very often anymore, I still keep on picking up big games. Now, one thing I'd also like to stress, as I have done on many of my videos when I'm defending against an assault on Erlenberg, the biggest mistake that you can make on Erlenberg, especially in your lightly armored tank destroyers. And oh gosh, that's actually a low roll there, but we finish off the most lightly armored tank in the game with a bit of surprise ramming there. So back to what I was saying about do not get caught down the west. The biggest mistake that I used to make, and I think a lot of people are still making, is that you try and defend the west. Sure, you want to try and take the position that you saw me do at the start of the game and extend your view range and maybe pull off a shot or 2. But you cannot get caught there. You have to get out. And it looks like the Jagdpanther 2 on my team, even though I asked him to fall back, didn't quite manage to do so. And that's really the difference between, I guess, the Jagdpanther not getting a kill, maybe putting in 1 or 2 shots into his opponents before he went down, and picking up 6 kills and 3,500 damage. But we're not done yet. Maybe there were 3 tanks left, now only 2. Who knows, maybe we're even going to pick up 7 or even a Randy Walters here later on in this game. Now I have loaded the gold, so to say, right now, and I'm firing premium rounds. But one thing that are interesting about these premium rounds is they're actually high explosive squash head ammunition. And for the Charioteer, the penetration goes down. It goes from 268 down to 210. But it means that if you fail to penetrate the target, you still splash on them and do a little bit of damage. And when you shoot lightly armored targets, now you're starting to pick up the damage. 479 damage dealt, 480 average, which means that we can kill the Borsig in a single shot. And those Hesh rounds against lightly armored targets are your opportunity to certainly mix things up. Oh no, we don't quite manage to kill the T-28 prototype, but it looks like QuickyBaby noticed that he was on 8 kills, and I think I quite fancied a Radley Walters medal, and I guess I denied the kill probably to this Type 58 who would have been able to nail him in the side. I'm sorry, buddy, but I had to secure that one after the less than high roll against him with my last shell. So the Charioteer is certainly still one of my favorite vehicles, tier for tier in the game, and I believe this happened during one of my Tech Tree showcases of the British turreted tank destroyer line. We pick up an ace tanker for 1,641 base experience points, a Radley Walters medal for our 8 kills, and a high caliber for 4,922 damage dealt. We also managed to do some detecting there, 1,500, we're able to assist our allies. And I'm certainly glad I did pull back and not fall victim to the position of the West when you're defending an assault on Erlenberg just like this Jagdpanther, or I'm fairly sure this one simply wouldn't have been a victory. And while I did fire a few Hesh rounds to give myself the edge against the Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger on the enemy team, we still managed to make a little bit of profit at 17,000 credits. Not too shabby for picking up 8 kills and 5,000 damage in a tier 8 tank. And hopefully this round gave you some food for thought with regards to falling back from a position if you are in a mobile vehicle, and to be constantly assessing the map to gauge your view range, your camo rating, what the enemy tank's likely view range is going to be, and accordingly either holding fire, relocating, or just letting rip on your opponents. And so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. I'd really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments what your favorite tank destroyers are, tier for tier in the game, and why. Let's think a few of mine. The T-67, although I don't really play it because it's completely broken and overpowered. Obviously the Charioteer, as I mentioned. Probably the ISU-152 for that mega gun at tier 8. But I'm interested to know what you think. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.